All right, I'm going to get kind of motivational today. This is a motivational Saturday, right? You need to start playing the role playing game that you really want to be playing right now. Like the whatever game that is that's got you excited, got you hyped, got you, flipping through the pages while you're playing a game you're not too happy playing with folks that don't want to change. You can be playing that game much sooner than you think. And I thought that I'd make a video about, how you can make that happen. So I'm James. Welcome to Living for Crits if this is your first time here. And I've been spending time floating in and out of the Discords and saw and was reminded of previous times when I saw some comments folks have made about, how excited they are for a game that's out there, but they can't get their group to play it, and they wish they could, and they're stuck just being fans of a game that maybe isn't a game you're going to find at Barnes and Noble, right? It's not D&D and it's not Pathfinder or Starfinder. There's something else they're really excited about, and they're just itching to spend more time with it. But they're stuck. They can't get players for it. And that was me in 2012 when I just did not have the ability to play anything outside of pulling some people together for D&D. At the time, I really wanted to play Savage Worlds, and it was a struggle. So it honestly feels like a lot of people have this problem, and from time to time, I see it pop up. I think about it. I may have even commented on it with Judge Evie on one of our previous streams, but I thought I'd refresh the topic and share some of my pro tips or semi-pro tips on how you could be playing the game that you want to be playing in like your heart of hearts in no time. And I'm going to add some disclaimers here. First off, this is some GM focused advice, okay? And not just for forever GMs, but for people that like to GM. This is for us. If you're a player, hate to say, it might be a little stuck in playing what's out there, and so I do want to add that caveat. This is for the folks that really either really love to GM, only GM, or would prefer to GM, or don't mind GMing most of the time. The other disclaimer I'm going to say is that this could put you outside your comfort zone if you're someone that has social anxiety or has some other challenges, talking with and new people and spending time with new people. This might be hard for you. I have social anxiety. There's a lot of quirky stuff going on between my ears, and I know that I have a hard time making connections with people outside of gaming. So I have an advantage, and I'm aware of the advantage that I have. My social anxiety, it doesn't exist quite as hard inside of my the obsession that I have within gaming. If you're a gamer, I can relate to you. If you're not, I do not have the capacity for small talk. I just kind of shut down. So it kind of leads to the next thing, is that as I talk through this, I'm going to be, looking from the perspective that transactional friendships are still good friendships. Like, you may not have anything else in common with the people that we're going to be trying to meet here, except for gaming and the love of whatever you're playing, and that's okay. If you're trying to just play with your current friend group, that's going to be hard if they want to play a certain thing. Like, if you're just waiting for your turn to play Dungeon Crawl Classics in your Pathfinder group, and you're waiting for your shot to GM, you're probably not going to play Dungeon Crawl Classics that much. That's just my perspective. Maybe you'll win them over, but I see a lot of folks talk about wanting to win over their group with a different game. That's really hard to do. It can be a great game, but I've just never found winning people over that way to work. So I have five fairly, I'm going to try to keep this as a shorter video, but I suck at that. I have 5 tips I'm going to lean on here. Five of my, I said, semi-pro tips. And the first thing I'm going to say here is that if you want to be running the games and playing the games that you want to play, you need to start scouting new players and scouting folks that you could play with. And this, like I said, this might not be your current friend group. It might not be your current table. It means you're going to look for some some new connections and some new friends. But be in that scouting mindset. When you're meeting people, do you feel like that's someone you'd want to have at your table with you? And if they are, then exchange information, whether it's a Discord handle or it's email, or however people in whatever bracket you're in. I'm like 44 years old, so like I'm gonna exchange email and stuff and maybe Discord, but I don't want to assume like how everyone connects, because I know I'm old and I'm trying to sound hip, but I can't. So I'm like 2 generations behind here, all the youngsters. So I would exchange email and I would exchange information on Discord. That's what I would do. So the second thing is, so once you're in this mindset of being open to scouting new players, is start spending time online in the places where your game is celebrated. If you're just in online communities about role playing in general, you're going to be crowded out or pushed out by the love of the big games. So the D&D and Pathfinder, that's going to be just overwhelming and everywhere. So go to the places where your game is not just talked about as another game, but is celebrated, embraced, worshipped, whatever. That could be, if you want to play Dungeon Crawl Classics, be in the Goodman Games Discord server, or if you want to play Savage World. I think there's an unofficial Savage Worlds Facebook group. I'm not on Facebook anymore. I was an admin there at one point in time. I hope it's still there. There were some good people there. But be there. If you want to play Shadow Dark, I know there's the Arcane Library Discord server. Be in those places where the game is talked about and is the sole focus or one of several very close foci. So if it's you might see Mutant Crawl Classics in the Dungeon Crawl Classics Discord server, but be somewhere where those are the games that if you're gonna be looking for players, that's where they're going to be. And try to interact with the folks there. So not just blasting, I want to run a game, but be a part of the conversation in whatever way you feel comfortable in doing. The next thing is, and it comes down to the whole comfort zone, right? So if you can work on being more comfortable playing with people that you don't know, and I look back as someone who's had anxiety issues. Presently, I'm in 3 RPGs a week right now, 2 of which are online. And in those 2 online groups, 8 of the 10 people that play with me I met online or at a convention. And it can be really challenging for someone who is not comfortable going out and meeting these folks. But if don't feel, or try not to feel, because I can't say don't feel, but try to, keep the conversation on what you know about and enjoy. The role-playing games, that's what you're there for. The characters, talk about those. That's where making it into that more transactional relationship where, you're both there for something that's mutually beneficial in the gaming space. You don't have to be there to end up meeting someone's entire family and all their friend groups, but hey, it might happen. You never know. But and know what your boundaries are in these conversations, and be okay saying to yourself or saying to those people, I'm not comfortable with this, and maybe you need to disconnect. I will say that's and I'm going to step back into something where when I had a therapist once when I was talking through my social anxiety. Who used to tell me that whenever I was dealing with my own anxiety about being around people, it's always okay if you feel like you need to leave the scene, to just leave and step away, whether it's online or if it's in person. And then as long as you are willing to try to come back, that's a good thing. But give yourself permission to leave. And it's sometimes easier to have those interactions knowing you aren't married to those interactions. You can leave, you can step away. Hell, if you're online, you can just disconnect. You can just click the button and you're done. You can be done with the whole group if you want to. I don't know why that helps me, but it did. So I'll offer that up. I am not a therapist. I am not a psychiatrist or psychologist. It was one of those tidbits in therapy that helped me. So if you can, the more you interact with people you don't know around gaming, the easier it becomes. And online, I'm very careful to say that online places aren't safe spaces. However, with there is that bit of anonymity you can have there. You can have some interactions and put yourself out there more easily online, I think. So then the next thing is conventions, and meeting people in conventions is just a wonderful way to expand, your gaming group, your gaming team. So I've met so many people just through conventions. So if you go online and you look up where are some conventions near you, Gen Con's around the corner in August. You're going to have Gamehole Con up in Wisconsin in October. In December, you've got PAX Unplugged here in Philadelphia. And then early next year, you're going to have GaryCon. And then the whole cycle goes again. The first Gen Con I went to in 2014, I went into that con knowing a few people playing Numenera, and I was trying to find more. And I was meeting people online, actually, through Twitter and through different groups that were, fans of Monte Cook games. I had been playing their stuff since 2013. So I went to Gen Con. My connections exploded with who I knew that also played Numenera and The Strange and the Cypher system. And that's what I offered to run games. If you feel comfortable and outgoing enough to run games for a game company at a convention and their presence, do it. It leads back to the first thing I mentioned. You're going to meet people at these conventions you're going to want to play with more, online or in person possibly. And I have always met people at conventions I've stayed connected with, almost every convention I've been to. And if there's no better way to scout new players than to be running one-shots for them. And if the gaming company is going to pay for your ticket to be there, that just cuts some of the cost down for you. Heck, some of the gaming companies give you more than that. They'll give you money. I know that Goodman used to give, I think they still do, if you run so many games for them, they'll cover a portion of your hotel fee. So if they're still doing that, great. And I know Goodman does it. I know Monte Cook does it with tickets, or paying for your badge, right? Not for the guarantee paying for your hotel. That doesn't. Monte Cook Games and Goodman Games I don't know if they still do that. I know the former doesn't do it. The latter might still do it. But even if they don't do it, running games for people that way, you're going to have people who want to be playing that game and that are interested enough that if you excite them, they might come back to you to play with you anywhere else. And there are folks that I met at Gen Con in 2014. I had this wonderful game with The Strange that Saturday where there was a whole family of gamers I met through that I still connect with today. My friends Ray and Shannon and their kids, Lorraine and Jules, we still connect. We still meet up. We've met up outside of gaming, where we've done some gaming, but we still met up, and they live in Canada. So that was a connection made. So like I said earlier, you don't have to be friends with these people like beyond gaming, but you can be. And if I didn't push to get outside of the D&D universe, it never would have happened. And the last tip I'll have, and I know my tips have been all over the place, and this has gotten a bit motivationally speechy, but I firmly believe if you run the game and you announce you're running the game, the people will come to your game. And they will show up. And it might not happen the first time, but it will eventually happen. And when I say that, I mean, you determine what you want to play. You determine when you want to play it as the GM. This is very GM focused. You determine the cadence at which you'll be playing the game. Whether it's once a week, once a month, twice a month. I would push for once a week. I think running a once a week game is actually easier because there's a commitment level, because you want that commitment. You want the players to be engaged, and it's easier to engage people on a set day a week. And I think the folks you get who are willing to play one day a week are going to be much more reliable at your table than someone who signs up for a once a month game and they're cool with it this month, but next month, something else has come up, and that's okay. I have friends of mine that are wonderful people who have a hard time keeping up with a monthly cadence because it sucks. I mean, I think it sucks, and now I'm getting, I'm going to be making an opinion on something I don't have an opinion on, but I think once a month gaming is really hard to pull off. I think it's unless you're doing an open table where you have no problem rotating players. And I've done that, and that works well. As long as you're willing to say first come, first serve. If you play at the last game, play at the next game, the first pick of a slot. But I think as a GM, if you just gather people first I think this is the wrong way to do it. If you gather people first and then say, when should we play? I think it's like there's memes of like, the jokes of like, who wants to play role playing games? They all raise their hand. When are we available? And no one raises their hand for the same time. Screw that. Don't worry about that. You're the GM. It's about when you're available, and that's when you set your game time. That's when you set it up. And the people want to play with you and play in your game and play that game. They will make time to be at that slot. I'm not saying you can't be flexible here and there, but if you turn it into like the pure democracy of when it's of playing whenever the whole group votes on it, that's going to be hard to achieve, and it might mean that you have people that fall back out of the group again. And I just think as the GM, it's within your rights, to be the person coordinating. If you're trying to achieve what I've just said, is playing the game that you want to be playing. And I think if you can get at least 2 people to the table for that first game, don't be looking for that perfect party. 2 or 3 players is fine. 2 or 3 players can have some really long-running campaigns. I know some friends of mine that I connect with and hang out with on Discord. I've known for years. They're playing like every Friday Savage Worlds Dragonlance game, and they've been playing every Friday. There's just 3 players, so you don't need that table of 5 or 6 people. Frankly, 5 and 6 people anymore. I'm preferring having it be 4, maybe 5 at my table, especially if it's the younger players and there's 6 of them and they're all screaming. And I'd much rather have there be less players. So anyway, I've kept this to under 20 minutes still. I just bounced around a bit. So, okay, hot shots out there that don't agree with me or have other advice, leave the comments below. But what do you think you could be doing or people should be doing if they want to be playing that role-playing game that's been sitting on their shelf for months that they really, really want to play, but no one that they regularly play with want to play it? What can they do? What can we do, people? Let's get people gaming the way they want to game. That's all I got. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend or day or evening or whenever you're watching this. Or if you're at work, hope your workday goes well. So take care. Happy gaming.